I've reviewed the last few videos that I had shot on the Jupiter here, and it looks like I was drilling holes, lots and lots of holes. But I also mentioned that I'd probably be putting the kit away for a little while, and that I would try to shoot the boxing up of that. I didn't shoot the boxing up of that. However, what I can do is shoot the unboxing, sorting out, and seeing if anything got lost phase of things. This is basically the way I left everything. One of the plastic cartons over here fell open on the floor at one point. I think I got all the parts. We'll find out as I go to assembly, and that's the only way I'm going to be finding out. And a lot of the parts, excuse me, were also stored in the hull. And the box in back there is all the aftermarket gear. That was probably safest of all, simply because it came in really nice boxes. So let's take just a quick glance around at what's going around here. So clearly on the top of the hull here, we got a nice big scratch going on. I don't know if that's permanent or not. Don't know how deep it is. Putting some more paint on that will probably show off if it's really bad or not. Something like this is definitely a scuff mark, but something like that could well be an actual gouge. And there are lots of scuff marks. That's probably a gouge right there. That's definitely one right there, that harsh black one. So there is some damage going on, and this shows you what can happen when you put your stuff away. For the record, June 2010, when the kit started being put aside, I got a batch of work done in September for a week or so, another batch in, I don't know, it was sometime before the end of the year, and then I had one this past March of 2011, maybe April, somewhere around there. And that is when I moved to a new apartment, and as you see in the next videos, this is a completely new workbench. Overall, I started this kit in about February 2010. It's now September 2011. And I had hoped this would be a 3 to 4 month build. This is a clear example of what happens when life gets in the way of stuff. I have not built another model, I have not worked on another model to any serious degree in all that time. So I'm definitely rusty, and I know a lot of you have been there, and if you're relatively new to modeling, getting back to a project can be one of the most difficult things. Whether you put it away deliberately, whether other stuff gets crowded into your life, or whether you get bored or frustrated with the build and decide to box it, and then a year later you're like, hey, let's take a look. Well, here are the results if you do a mediocre job on boxing your kit away in the first place and making sure that everything is good. So let's take a look inside here now. So there's some interesting texturing going on there in the silver. That's not expected at all. So I don't know if this is just an actual texture that's actually corroded into the paint itself. I'll have to spray some primer on it and find out. And everything needs a really good dusting. Even though this was flipped upside down for a long time, there's still a good layer of dust going on. In here we got a few parts. Probably one of the more delicate pieces here, but also one of the more cumbersome just by all the wiring that's involved. The ceiling, which I think is done as far as paint goes, but we'll see. The floor here, a lot more dust going on. So we're going to need a damp towel. You definitely, if you've got wiring down, you definitely don't want to get that wet. So a damp towel should get everything, but that can put up a lot of lint itself. And down here we don't have to worry about any dust at all. Doesn't matter how dirty this gets as long as everything powers up when it's required to. Everything looks pretty stable here. A few of these wires are loose from their positions because these go to the sidewalls for the landing bay. Underneath we've got the fusion core still in there. So as long as everything powers up, we are all set. And for a slightly closer look at these pieces again here. Yeah, just look at all that dust. The only reason why I might want to repaint the ceiling here is that I have to repaint the floor, so I want the tones to match. And I did the ceiling over a base black instead of a base white. And here and there it just essentially shows if I had used a base white and that was coming through, that would make everything a lot brighter and feel a little better. It looks like there's a few smudges in there too. So it never hurts to redo, and now that I'm looking at it, there's all these injection molds. Looks like injection mold, plug, whatever they are. So I don't know if these shapes actually belong here. I'm guessing not. But if it's an injection molding issue, then they could have done that on the other side. These do look somewhat haphazard. So the floor here is a relatively heavy piece. Once this gets all fibered up, this is definitely going to be a mass unto itself. Over here on these boxes, this is a little more organized. This was boxed, completely sealed up at one point. Just recently is when it fell apart. I'm not worried about any pieces missing out of that. This one was always sealed up, and there's these few pieces here. So some of the paint jobs may have been damaged simply by being around. We'll take a closer look at that and see how some of them look. Quick look at this, it looks like one of the fins broke. If I have the part that's missing here, then I can simply glue it back on. If I'm missing that part, then I'll show you how I'm going to repair that. I'm not going to use this one, I don't think. However, it would be good to have that restored and taken better care of. So broken parts, scratched paint jobs, scratched pieces, gouges. The fret of Paragraphics Photo Etch looks to be still flat and good. I'm lucky on that regard. If there had been any pieces or anything and this got distorted, that may have been impossible to fix. And it looks like a lot of random parts in here, some wood shavings, probably lots of dust in here. And there's not really going to be any way for me to know what's missing until I actually go through and find what's missing. In fact, I used to think there was a sheet of cardboard I had here with a bunch more little parts, but I don't see that. Ah, here it is. So actually, this did spill. If we go through some of my last videos, there's probably a shot of this around or near the workbench, and all the pieces are taped down nicely. This spilled on the floor, the last carpet monster. I think I got all the pieces. I don't know. But if they're gone, we'll simply scratch up new ones. Yeah, so this itself was sitting open for about 5 months, just around tables, in things, under things, next to things. And it survived all that time until about the week or two before I started to move from my old apartment that this actually spilled. So all I've done there is flip some tape upside down and tape that down at the ends. I'm glad all these brass tubes are still here. It looks like they've gotten a little corroded, surprisingly enough. Just exposure to the air, long term. Huh. There's some corrosion on the front of that too. Whatever it is, it's not surface damage. This seems protected. So we got a bag of clear parts, and it looks like a lot of other random wall pieces here. So what I'll do is let's get some of this organized and see what's up. And of course there's this brake here, which is an old one that had been, I think, over on this side. It may have been in the middle, but either way, eventually it just snapped off, so that's going to have to be replaced.